Mike's Milestones, a trip around the world. In his 44 years at KOIN, Mike Donahue has taken us to the far reaches of our world for the stories that affect us here right at home.
So get your passports ready because Mike is going to take us back to some of those exotic locations. But Mike, you've also been all over the U.S. for some pretty big stories. That's
right, Kelly. It's been quite a journey to Aspen, Colorado. We went there to interview an earthquake predictor, to Miami, Florida, to cover the hanging Chad controversy. Made several trips to Washington, D.C., to the northwest tip of Washington State, where we watched Native Americans spear a whale, to Northern California, an island there off the coast where an Alaska Airlines flight crashed, and to Dallas and Pasadena to cover bowl games. I've also taken you overseas. Our journey begins here on the plateau of Giza at the Great Pyramid, the symbol of ancient Egypt. We went to Egypt to preview an exhibit coming to Portland's Art Museum. We arrived at the pyramids just as workers finished a 10-year facelift on the Sphinx. Inside Cairo's magnificent museum, we were allowed to enter the room where 9 mummies are kept. Flying to Luxor, everything we saw there made us feel small. In the Valley of the Kings, the elaborate tombs left us amazed. Here in the No-Foot Desert, just 150 miles from the supposed site of the biblical Garden of Eden, the Saudi government has turned the desert green, literally forcing the sand to yield wheat to feed the Saudi people. 4 years earlier, we had followed Governor Atiyah to the Middle East on a trade mission. In Cairo, we went to the palace where the governor met with President Mubarak.
I'll be going from here to Syria and to my father's village in Amar.
Arriving in Syria, that dream trip to Amar came true. We watched as the entire village led Atiyah up the ancient streets, showering him with rose petals and declaring him the president of the biggest and best state in America.
You know, I don't get anything like this in Oregon.
In 1992, we accompanied Northwest medical teams to Kenya to treat refugees fleeing the war in Somalia. In primitive villages, doctors and nurses brought life.
Dr. McDougall is treating a classic third world case of bloody diarrhea and dehydration. This mother has tried to feed her child goat's milk.
We traveled to China in 1981 with Oregon tourists, just as China was opening its doors to the West. The camera work is mine. A Super 8 was the largest that customs would permit.
Once a racetrack, this is the People's Square in Shanghai. But it's used for few rallies or demonstrations these days, the government preferring to have people work.
The Stroganoff exhibit of artwork was coming to Portland, so we went to the family's home being restored in St. Petersburg, Russia. They lived in a small palace of many beautiful rooms, stuffed with their art collected from all over the world. While there, we went on a culture binge. Russians of all ages love their opera and ballet. Just as we would go to a matinee movie, they've come to the world-famous Mariinsky Theater to see an opera this morning at 11:30. One reason is the price, less than $2 a ticket. Our trip to Moscow was material for a Russian novel. The son of a famous aviator promised he'd get us an interview with President Yeltsin. Igor Chokolov's father, Valery, was first to fly over the North Pole, landing in Vancouver, Washington. He was Stalin's hero. But Igor couldn't get us behind the Kremlin's walls. In the new Russia, we discovered, it's not who you knew, but what you know. Oh, wow. My overseas journeys also included Taiwan. I was with a group of West Coast journalists, and we were taken to an island off the coast where Taiwan's military had built a massive top-secret tunnel system. That's where they would launch their attack if mainland China were to invade. From a bunker with binoculars, I could see the mainland across the straits. It was a chilling Cold War experience.
Well, when you retire May 31st, are you going to stop traveling or continue to travel?
No, in fact, I went back to Washington, D.C. right away for a reunion with some friends.
That'll be great.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing all these memories, Mike. This has been fantastic.
Thank you, Mike. Now, Mike's Milestones does continue every weekday here on KOIN Local 6 at 6 until he retires, which is next Thursday. The countdown is on. Join us tomorrow as Mike looks back at major environmental stories that he's covered, and that includes everything from the wreck of the new Carissa to the Macaw Indians spearing a whale.